In the heart of a bustling city where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and the wealthy dined under chandeliers that seemed to drip with starlight, lived Alexander Knight, a man both admired and feared, a self-made billionaire CEO who built his empire not just with intelligence but with relentless grit, and yet, beneath his polished exterior, he carried the quiet ache of loneliness and the tender responsibility of raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily all on his own after tragedy claimed his wife years ago, leaving him both protector and provider, a father who could command boardrooms filled with ruthless executives but melted instantly at the sight of his daughter's sleepy smile each morning. It was this juxtaposition of power and vulnerability that made him intriguing to the world but guarded in his personal life. Southwest when his close friends finally convinced him to try a blind date, something he always dismissed as frivolous, he agreed, not for himself but because Lily had clasped his hand one evening and said with innocent seriousness, "Daddy, don't you get lonely when I'm at school?" And the question pierced deeper than any corporate rivalry ever could, pushing him to consider opening his heart again. Meanwhile, across the same glittering city, a woman named Isabella Monroe wrestled with choices far heavier than the designer dress she wore or the confident heels she walked in. For though she was breathtaking in beauty with cascading brunette hair and eyes that seemed to hide 1,000 stories, her life was far from charmed. Debts clung to her like shadows, her younger brother needed tuition, and her mother's medical bills mounted with cruel persistence, forcing her into a desperate arrangement when a wealthy socialite, jealous of Alexander's attention and wanting to ensure a Northwest woman could get close to him, slipped Isabella an envelope thick with cash and a single instruction: ruin his blind date, embarrass him so completely he'd never dare try again, make sure his heart stayed closed. And though Isabella's moral compass screamed in protest, the lure of that money was too strong for a woman cornered by life's merciless demands, so she agreed with trembling hands, whispering to herself that she was simply playing a role, that she wouldn't care, that she'd walk away richer and unaffected, never imagining that this night would alter the course of her destiny forever. The restaurant chosen for the date was one of the city's most exclusive, where the chandeliers glowed like captured moons, where every table gleamed under candlelight, and Alexander arrived in his custom-tailored suit, his tall frame commanding attention without effort, his jaw set with the stoicism of a man who had been let down too often yet who secretly hoped tonight might be different. And when Isabella entered, every head turned because she carried not just beauty but a fire in her presence, though inside her heart thundered with guilt because she knew she was walking toward a man she was meant to destroy. Their eyes met across the room, his piercing blue gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that startled her, and she felt the first crack in her resolve, for this was not some cold businessman but a man whose eyes carried both power and pain. And when she sat down opposite him, the plan she rehearsed, sharp words, feigned rudeness, chaos to end the evening, suddenly tangled with the unexpected pull of his quiet charm, his deep voice thanking her for coming, his subtle smile softening the walls around her. And as the evening unfolded, instead of executing sabotage, Isabella found herself laughing at his dry wit, leaning closer when he spoke about Lily, her heart aching as he described the bedtime stories he still read to his daughter every night, and every attempt to derail the date crumbled because the man across from her was not the arrogant tycoon she expected but a father, a dreamer, someone she could not bring herself to hurt. Yet fate is cruelly ironic, for the very chemistry sparking between them was witnessed by others in the restaurant, including the very socialite who had hired Isabella, watching from a distance with simmering rage, and Isabella's conscience twisted as the clock ticked on because she knew she had been paid to break this man, but instead she was breaking herself, every smile exchanged, every story shared sinking her deeper into feelings she had no right to feel, until Alexander reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers gently as he said, "You know, it's strange, I've been in rooms with world leaders, with kings and magnates, but I can't remember the last time I felt this comfortable, this, alive." And Isabella's breath caught because in that moment she saw the truth. He wasn't a client, a paycheck, a mission. He was a man who needed love as desperately as she needed hope. And though her lips curved into a smile, her soul trembled with the weight of secrets, knowing that sooner or later the truth of her betrayal would come crashing between them like glass shattering across marble floors. And so chapter 1 closes not with resolution but with tension as the night ended with Alexander offering to see her again, his voice hopeful, his eyes unguarded, while Isabella nodded, her heart in chaos, the envelope of money back home burning like a guilty brand in her mind. And as she slipped into the back of a cab, staring at the city lights blurring past, she whispered to herself, "What have I done?" Knowing she was already caught in a storm where love, lies, and redemption would collide. And as the music of the city played on, fate began weaving the next chapter of their intertwined lives. And before we move into the next chapter, dear viewers, if you want to know what happens when secrets collide, when betrayal and love face each other head-on, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss chapter 2 of this unforgettable story.